And I hate to say it, guys, but I honestly question, and I had this in my thought while I was there, I almost felt like this was a giant scam. This video is again brought to you by Old Rasputin. I love this beer so much. And in order for me to talk about what we're going to talk about, I needed to have a few of these in me. So, oh. And I know that I'm going to be the last one to talk about this, but you know what? Hopefully we can save the best for last. What's up, guys, and welcome back to my channel where I talk and do everything pinball. So if that sounds interesting to you, then hit that subscribe button down below. So if you've been living underneath a rock, then by all means allow me to give you a little bit of education of what we're going to be discussing here, and that is the fact that Robert Mueller, the principal, the big guy over Deeproot Pinball as well as Deeproot LLC, he's in some deep trouble, needless to say. But before we get into the current, let's go back a few years and just put you in my mental perspective of how I felt about Robert and Deeproot from the beginning. So whenever I first saw Deeproot Pinball, it was at Texas Pinball Festival of 2016, something like that, I want to say, 2015 or 2016, around that time frame. And I remember seeing the posters, and I was like, okay, so somebody else is getting into the pinball thing, didn't know who Robert was or anything like that. Time went by. Do not know the exact time frame on this, but all I know is that eventually it came to be that I was aware of who Robert Mueller was, and that he started making these big claims about what they were going to be producing. And I want to say it's probably the main video that everyone's accustomed to seeing, maybe when it comes to like Pinball Expo 2018 probably, and started to see how he was as an individual. Robert was talking a lot of talk, and it was yet to be seen if he could walk the walk. Such famous quotes would be that he's going to be putting out more games than any other manufacturer in 1 year. That their games will have more than any other manufacturer, better quality. I mean, anything that you could possibly think that someone would try to outdo on other manufacturers, they were going to do. He was putting Deeproot in the position of saying that Deeproot was going to own the pinball market and they were going to be the best of the best. But of course, as time goes by, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, who is funding this? Where is Robert getting the money to have the facility, hire all these people, engineers, designers, coders, all of that overhead? Where is this money coming from? And so then it became to be that I guess I found out or read or whatever that he supposedly owned a lot of businesses or properties or whatever, and that I guess my assumption is that he was just so rich and had so much money from all these other things that he owned or made doing whatever, that he had all this money, that he loved pinball so much that he was going to use all of his profits that he would normally make and just build up a pinball company, and then once it's there, obviously start profiting that way. So that was my main thing, was that that's pretty awesome. This guy has got some, love for the hobby. If he is using his own personal money as like a little piggy bank, basically, to fund a pinball manufacturer. Now, after all this report, it turns out that that is exactly, no, not exactly, but that is basically what he was doing, guys. He had money in a personal little piggy bank that he was utilizing to pay all the employees, all the overhead, and some extras on the side, obviously. But the only thing is that the money he was getting it from was from other people's investments, allegedly. And just for future references, everything that I'm about to discuss that is on the report, that if you want to see it for yourself, I will put a link down in the description below. But allegedly Robert has done this stuff. So going from this entire video, allegedly is the word that needs to be put in front of everything, because there's no way I'm going to be able to remember to say that before all of this. Another. Oh. So SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission, put out this entire report, and first of all, whenever it's the SEC, even though we still have to use the term allegedly, they don't mess around, guys. This is whenever they have a report like this and they list everything, including using the word facts. It's pretty much an open and shut case. Basically, they've got all the evidence. They've done all the research. They're ready to nail somebody to the cross. This is merely a formality. So as much fun as it would be to go through the 24-page report provided by the SEC, I have merely just kind of gone through, and I'm going to give you the juice that is within this report and the only things that you really need to kind of like know about. So first off, it states in the report that the average person invested $193,000. Now, obviously, out of the 300 individuals, some gave more, some gave less. This is merely just an average. Now, just so you know, in order for you to invest in Deeproot's 575 fund, it had to be a minimum of $25,000. If you had less than that, then no, they would not take your money. You had to give them $25,000 to invest in this life insurance policy thing. So right here, Robert persuaded mostly retiree investors to cash out their current investments to put into their 575 fund, supposedly for life insurance and deeproot related business for safe returns. Yes, there is nothing safe about what is going into this, and there's no returns. So over the course of these years, they raised $58 million, but only $10 million of that 58 actually went into these life insurance, policy items. Robert used this 58 million, well, 48, I guess, $1 million. He used this as his own personal piggy bank.
There you go. There you go.
Thank you, sir.
There you go.
Thank you, sir.
There you go. There you go.
And that's the funny thing, is they use that term in the report. His own personal piggy bank. I'm not just making that shit up. This is what it says. He used it as... There we go. I gotta move these empty bottles out of the way so I know which one actually has in it. And by doing so, Robert defaulted on a $10 million face value life insurance policy, losing $3.5 million of the funds in the process, therefore causing him to make $820,000 Ponzi-like payments to earlier investors by using new investors. So if what I said there doesn't make any sense, take it as it's the old saying, rob from Peter to pay Paul. So you have these older investors that got in real quick that are like, hey, we need our money, what's going on? And then Robert's like, oh shit, I need to give these guys money. Well, I need to find some new investors because my piggy bank's running a little low right now. Let me go get some new investors. Hey, you want some life insurance policy items? It's got safe returns, but it really doesn't. And they get the new investors' money. And they're like, oh, thank God, we got some new money. Now, we need to give this new money to the old investors so we can at least, dodge a bullet here. And then they rinse and repeat that for God knows how fucking long. Next item. Robert made statements he took no compensation from the funds, but he made ad HOC salary payments to himself whenever money was available, totaling roughly $1.6 million between the years 2016 and 2020. And let me just break it down, that's $400K a year, $33K a month, or $8.3K per week. But this is where it gets really interesting. He also used $1.5 million for personal expenses. Personal expenses. What does that mean? Well, let's begin. So starting off at the top of the list here, we have his daughter's private school tuition. Well, I'll tell you what, Lady Mueller, when it comes to your economics class, do not let your father do your homework. Johnny has 17 apples and Eric has 23. How many apples do you have? Well, according to my dad, I'll just take them all. Vacations with his family. Now, you gotta give the guy a break. He's gotta take his vacations because evidently stealing other people's money is fucking exhausting. His second wedding. I had a feeling that the first marriage wouldn't work. His second divorce. You know, and this isn't too surprising. He seems like a taker. And not just from the SEC report. He definitely seems like some guy that would just take. If I had to put money, I bet his favorite sexual position is 68. And in case you don't know what that is, that means where you do me and I owe you one. His third wedding? Jesus. Man, I tell you what, I don't want to put money on this one, but I got a feeling we've got a third divorce just around the corner. Jewelry for both second and third wives. Other lifestyle spending for the family. What the hell does that mean? I guess that could mean fancy restaurants, whatever, stuff like that. Condominium in Kauai, Hawaii? How do you say that? Kauai? Kauai? I don't know. I'm probably seeing multiple vowels at this point, and their language is is mostly vowels. So, fuck it. Condominium in Hawaii. So, you're not even hiding it at this point. If you are stealing people's money, if you're embezzling, doing the Ponzi scheme, the last thing you want to do is buy a condo in Hawaii. Oh, come on! This is where it's like, okay, I could see some certain things where I'm like, well, you got to do what you got to do. Until you get to that, then you're like, okay, he doesn't give a fuck at this point. He just doesn't care. But you know what? He only got it for $135,000. And he was being kind of thrifty at that point, I guess, because he did spend $59,000 in renovations on the fucking thing. And then he spent $75,000 in season tickets to sports events. Wow. And then, of course, whenever the SEC counsel asked him about his personal spendings, he responded with,
I plead the fifth.
Sir, will you tell us?
Well, of course he would. And that's pretty much the meat and potatoes of the 24-page document. Like I said, link in the description down below for you to peruse and see for yourself. So I think it's pretty clear that Deeproot Pinball is no more. There's no way that they can go on like this. It's already been stated. I've already given you the information from previous employees that they are on furlough as of over a month ago. So they're not paying their employees. They have a historical record of not paying their employees in the past at that. I'm not extremely surprised by this. It's one of those things where it's like, oh, the Rubik's Cube comes completely together and you see that, oh, that's where all the money was coming from. Now it makes sense why I saw certain things that I saw when I was there. But the really troubling thing about that is the fact that I was there merely a day. And not just me, 5 others, but once again, I'm only speaking on behalf of me. I cannot speak on behalf of them. But during the time there, and I specify in a previous video, I'm going to try to put that into the intro, that I honestly felt like this was a scam. And I'm guessing for those of you out there that were just rooting, looking past all the excuses, all this time, I can only assume that you've never been fucked over in your life. You've never had people, a company, or somebody just do you wrong. You just don't realize that there are people out there that are going to take advantage of you, that give zero fucks about your money and want it for their own kind of thing. Have you never been screwed over? Have you never, like, you know, just been like, oh, I can't believe people are like this? No, see, and that's the thing. That's something I can quickly see in people's eyes. And I say people, I mean, like, you know, at the grocery store, you see these good-looking girls and like, hey, oh, they're obviously too young. Because they don't have the look of just, I have been through hell in their lives. It's still the young, everything's all rainbows and gumdrops, life is all sweet, nothing can go wrong, because they haven't been through hell yet. They haven't experienced loss, so they don't know. So you can just usually tell by looking in someone's eyes on what they have possibly been through in their life. And I feel like a lot of the people that just like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this happened or whatever, have never been fucked over. Because I remember for the longest time, guys, I looked at deeproot pinball as the Willy Wonka for pinball. Meaning that you didn't know what was going on in the facility. You hoped it was something magical. And then I got the golden ticket and was able to go into the factory. Although it's not a factory, and I've stated this before, it's merely a building facility. It is definitely not a factory. And so once again, this time last year, I was well aware that I was going to be going to deeproot and getting to see everything. I was going to be one of the first to see what they've been working on for over 4 years at this point. And I was like, man, and I honestly thought that I wasn't going to see anything but a fully working Raza. That's my only thing that I thought that we were going to see, but they showed us, it's difficult to say. They showed us so much more, but at the same time, it was nothing at all. So take that as you will. So when it comes to more stuff that I saw while I was there, let me just disperse this now in case I haven't dispersed it in a previous video. Let's say, for instance, first thing we saw when we walked in, one of the first things that caught my eye, actually, when we first walk into just the facility in general and wait for Robert to chaperone us to the next area, is that there was a cubicle section where I think even Steve Bowden and other coders and IT, if you want to call them that, and other people that sit at cubes, that was like their cube area. All of the computers there were pretty high-end gaming PCs, not just your typical desktop, office, Dell, or whatever that you would have in a cubicle to do office work. You could easily have a badass LAN party with the computers that they had here. We're talking like the see-through side glass panel, the graphics card. These were pretty damn nice computers and office cubicle stuff, and you could argue that these were the coders or the graphic designers. And if they weren't working on a game, that's for damn sure. All of them were just kind of lounging back, sitting back, just chit-chatting, shooting the shit the entire time and every time that I did see them. Then we get brought into the design room where you have Barry Ausler and J-Pop. Barry Ausler did not have the same setup going for him as J-Pop did. J-Pop had his Fire and Brimstone game that he had the paper setup kind of going on where he was building the ramps and the lanes and everything using the white paper and drawing stuff on there. There was some objects on the playfield, like a magnifying glass of some sort that really obscured what was on the playfield underneath it. It looked kind of cool, actually, a little bit. As far as like the exact layout, I mean, I would say that it was pretty close to like a Totan type of thing, the way it looked, just out of my memory over a year ago. But he was working on that. Barry Ausler was kind of just there. We got to see the playfield art for Food Truck, but as far as an actual, like, you know, white wood or anything like that, no, we did not get to see that. So once we leave the designer's room, we got brought into the prototype room, or the whitewood room, which is also the same room where one individual was doing all of the soldering for all their games. So the whitewood room has got at least 6 to 8 whitewoods. And I can't say for sure that all of them were this way, but for the one whitewood that I did play with the flippers on, there were no flipper mechs. The flipper bats were just easily able to be moved around. So everything looked like it was just kind of a placeholder. Like that. This is basically a model just to be here to look like a playfield, a game playfield. So that's the way that looked. And then we get shown Goonies, and this is Barry Alger's game, and obviously there's a large portion of the game missing, and we question, what's going on here, and I kind of don't want to give this away because it might be something that may come along in the future, but I don't think it will be. But what they're wanting to put into the middle of the Goonies is like a coin pusher with like gold coins and stuff like that. So that's what they kind of described it to us. There was no actual mech to show us in action because more than likely all those whitewoods were just for show anyways. But they were wanting to do like a coin pusher mech within the game on the playfield. Then we got brought into a little further in where they showed us the topper for Raza. Now the topper for Raza is not what you're currently seeing that he's showing off. The original topper for Raza, or one that I believe was going to be on the top tier, was actually a roller coaster. And the roller coaster actually reacted and it moved and everything, the cart on the track, the way it was much more intriguing than what we currently have. But there was motion on this cart and roller coaster. I think it was like zombies or it was aliens on a roller coaster cart on a track that moved, and that was pretty cool. So I was like, okay, that's a pretty cool topper in the making, but I'm guessing they couldn't get it to work, probably for whatever reasons, doesn't fucking matter, but that's what that was. I think a lot of the other things that I could mention have been mentioned before in videos, so there's no sense in me going into great detail, but something that no one else has talked about is what the fuck is Octo Manufacturing? And this is something that I don't understand why he was so proud of this, as if it was so original that no one else needs to know what this is. This is a big secret. This is not a secret. This is one of the worst ways you could probably try to mass manufacture pinball machines, especially since your goal is evidently pinball for the masses. So, we get brought into the manufacturing room, and there's nothing. Well, there are some things. There are 8 Harbor Freight tool carts. And I don't even want to say tool carts, but they're like, it's basically a workbench. Yeah, they're Harbor Freight, 8 of them, 8 Harbor Freight workbenches. I will try to get a picture offline or online and put it up here for you to see. But there were 8 of them. Octo Manufacturing, guys. 8 Harbor Freight workbenches. 2 people would be assigned to each of these Harbor Freight workbenches. And these 2 people would be assembling a game. And we're getting like walked through how the whole manufacturing process would be. Be like, all right, so yeah, 2 people would be right here. We would have all the parts and everything somewhere over here where they would be all organized, and then they would go and get the parts needed for a particular machine and bring them over, and the 2 of them would be able to assemble a game a day, or they probably had a different number at that time. But I remember that's what Octo Manufacturing was 8 Harbor Freight workbenches building pinball machines. Wow. And I really don't know what else needs to be said about my time there. But I do want to talk for a bit about people in this hobby. And this is the fucked up part about people, is that the information gets out that Robert has taken $58 million from people, more than likely elder people that are going to be retiring within the next decade kind of thing, or are soon to retire, getting ready for it, and definitely need money to stay afloat. Robert has taken money from these people. And this is an even fucked up part. Alcohol's a hell of a thing. So Robert's ideal insurance investment plan, basically he was betting against people's lives. This should tell you about his mentality. He was betting that you would die. And if you died, he made a lot of money. So he was basically betting a short on your life. So the longer you lived, the more money he would lose. Okay, that's what this investment basically was in a nutshell. So you've got 300 people that invested in this 575 fund, and that were told that they were, like any other financial advisor would and does tell you. I mean, mine calls me, once a month, for crying out loud. So would tell you, hey, we're putting this into this. It's going to have safe returns, blah, blah, fucking blah. And then, lo and behold, this happens. The person that owns this fund has taken your money and spent it on his own personal items, as well as paying for adventure in a pinball company. Paid salaries. This is where I'm like, why are people not thinking like this? Why do I have a comb? Bringing out a pen. I like this better. 300 people accumulatively have lost $58 million. This $58 million was to go to these people to their retirement. And it's gone. Their money's gone. And then you have people in this hobby, and these are even certain people that have messaged me, commented on my videos, sent me personal messages wanting to know if the people that put in a deposit are going to get their money back. Are you fucking kidding me? That's what you're curious about? Out of all the 24 pages and all the details that have come out, that is the question that you have? Are the people that put in a deposit, which is maybe, $1,800, if that, are they going to get their money back? Fuck you. And I'll lose subscribers. I'll get my thumbs down from you assholes. But tell you what, fuck you. And I mean, it's one of those things. What else do you want me to say? I mean, because this is beyond a deposit on a fucking pinball machine, guys. This is on to 300 other people that put their trust in an individual that spent their money on a fucking condo, getting divorced, getting remarried. That's where these people's fucking money went. And you have the audacity to go, are they going to get their deposits back? Are they going to get their Raza? Look, I love pinball and all that kind of stuff, but to that be the only thing that you're curious about, you might be just like Robert. Do you think I haven't lost money before? I haven't, thrown over $1,000 at something and gotten nothing in return? Oh, it's happened. Definitely. I've thrown money out and gotten nothing back. And thankfully, it was only that much. If I knew that my current 401k was now non-existent, then yeah, that would not be good, obviously. I would rather lose $2,000 than what the hell these people just lost. Now, some of you are probably thinking this video took a turn real quick. I'm on my last beer. And something else that I guess bothers me is that, and this sucks, you have to think about the other people involved in this as well, guys. I mean, even for Robert, I mean, this is someone's father. This is someone's husband. Actually, going by his track record, this is a couple of people's husband. Whatever. But, like, then you have the people that work there all these years and were getting paid whenever they got paid, but evidently were getting paid very well. And I hope that the people that work there really realize where their money was coming from. Now, obviously, they didn't know, so you can't really blame them. Be like, how come you didn't know? Although I was there one day and felt that something was definitely wrong and something was fishy and not right. I'm like, this doesn't feel right. And that's something I've really got to question, guys. About you got people that have worked there for years. What are they doing? This even goes to you coders out there. It's like, okay, you've coded one game, maybe. You don't know. The game doesn't fucking work. So you don't really know for sure how well it's coded. Are you doing 40 hours a week? I mean, to take you 40 hours a week for years to put one fucking game together? No, I'd hope not. I would hope not. I would hope that those that work there at multiple points were questioning the legitimacy of this company. And I'm thinking that the reason why these people stuck around for as long as they have is for a couple of reasons. One, contract-based. Two, they were getting paid pretty damn well. You would have to be getting paid damn well to have the problems that we've been reported that they were not getting paychecks all the time. I'm trying to think in my own mindset. If I was working somewhere and they were like, hey, you're not going to get a paycheck this week, but hold up, you're going to get paid next time around, so just stick around, good things are coming your way, blah, blah, fucking blah, and then I got paid. I'm like, okay, good, we're all good. It's one of those things where I think I would only be okay with this if I was getting paid extraordinarily well. And you're getting paid extraordinarily well to do what with whose fucking money? I need to calm down and stop recording. I typically don't even drink on the weekdays, but in order for me to even discuss this topic, I felt that I needed to be a little bit inebriated to just make it more fun for me. Because talking about this isn't fun. I fucking hate talking about Deeproot. Especially now. I mean, before I didn't like talking about them because they couldn't prove that they were going to be doing good for the hobby. And so now I really don't want to talk about them because it's provenly factual, or allegedly, that they're not going to be doing anything good for the hobby. And I know that there's going to be probably plenty of things that I'm going to miss when talking about this. And so chances are I may have to do a fucking follow-up video, and I really don't want to. I don't know of what else needs to be talked about, guys. I'm going to talk to the other members of the Deep Six to see if maybe we can do a reunion show type of thing. Zoom meeting style, obviously. I don't know if any or all will be interested in doing something like that, or if any of you out there would be interested in seeing anything like that, where the six of us would get together on a Zoom and just kind of reminisce about that weekend that we had almost a year ago. If that's something that you are interested in seeing, then by all means, let me know in the comments section down below. If you like what you've seen here, give me the thumbs up. Oh, it's so good. Hit the subscribe button, ding my dong, that way you can be notified of whenever I upload something for your viewing pleasure. And until next time, guys, another! Robert, I would like to hope that in the beginning, you really did have great plans for this hobby. I would also hope that you didn't start this whole venture and have an end game of just screwing people out of their money. You had ideas, you had determination, but you had too much pride. You could have been humble from the very beginning, built your Raza machines without the pin bar, sold much more of them, and you could have grown Deeproot Pinball. I bet within the last 12 months you knew that your wrongdoings were going to be catching up to you. You were throwing a Hail Mary by bringing in the Deep Six, showing them the facility, getting things all set up good enough, putting on this dog and pony show just so you would hope that the 6 of us would spread the word on how great things are and what you guys are going to be bringing to the hobby. But that failed. We saw through the facade that you had set up for us. You made so many wrong decisions along the way. Then you were praying that when you finally opened up your pre-orders that you were gonna sell so many of your Razas. And once you saw that you had less than 100 orders, you knew it was game over. Somewhere along the way, you got lost. I truly believe that you do love pinball as much as a lot of us do in this hobby. There are so many of us that are fighting with each other, whether it be on Pinside or on other types of media formats, that we're just almost at each other's throats when we disagree on something. And it sucks that it took you and your actions to finally bring us all together and agree on something. You are a bad person. And pinball is a hell of a lot better without you.